Craig, Baltimore Ravens, buddy. Get a good one.
Yeah, the Ravens, man, it's just this should be a really finally should be a really good team here because obviously they have a great head coach, Harbaugh, man, like he's one of the top coaches in the league. Multiple playoff runs, Super Bowl title. So really nothing needs to be said about him for the most part. Like he's just a really solid coach. You're going to see if they can. They finally got a playoff win last year with Lamar Jackson, so maybe they can build off of that going forward this year and making progress. Although I don't know how that's. I mean, Lamar's got COVID or is in the COVID protocol, so we've seen what happened to certain players when they get COVID and they're just not the same. Saw that happen to Cam Newton. So hopefully Lamar Jackson comes out and he's just as dominant as he was last year, at least running the ball. Obviously, the question has been him passing the ball. What can he accomplish this year? Like they finally got some solid pieces around him for as far as weapons. They got Sammy Watkins. They already had Hollywood Brown. They already have Mark Andrews. So they got some pieces there. They're usually in the bottom tier anyway in running back or in the wide receivers, and because they just don't have any wide receivers. They got the young rookie out of Minnesota, Bateman. So he should be an upgrade as well. They just have a lot of really good pieces there that Lamar Jackson can actually utilize this year and make something out of nothing compared, at least what they've had the last couple of years. So definitely an upgrade for him. He's obviously going to have his legs, utilize them. He's not going to take that away from him. You can't take away his biggest strength. So I'm not saying he's going to be MVP or nothing like that, but I could see another 1,000-yard rushing season for him if he stays healthy. Obviously, that's another thing. You got to keep him healthy, and he has to. I know they played the Bills last year, but some of those in the playoffs was just, especially that pick six when they had a chance to take the lead and maybe win the game. Like that's unacceptable. But you know, he can build off of that. It was a tough season for him, or a tough ending for him to end the season after that playoff win. So you know, he's got something to build on there. And then his running backs, J.K. Dobbins, they had a rookie season last year, really good season. Gus Edwards is still there. They don't have Mark Ingram anymore, but you know those two running backs, along with Jackson, obviously, should prove to be really good in this upcoming season. I could see like a top 3, top 5 overall running numbers for this team. The offensive line, yeah. That they're you know, I think they're a solid offensive line. They're just going to have to try to do their best to protect Lamar Jackson. Kind of easier said than done for a guy who likes to run out the pocket and scramble. So they definitely have. I believe they have Brady Bozeman is there at the center. They got Villanueva from Pittsburgh, so that's an upgrade, I guess, at right tackle. It's just going to be what can they do? I believe they got Sorrell, rookie this year, so they have some pieces there. I don't know if it's going to be enough maybe to stop Lamar Jackson from taking shots, but you know, I think they can put in some type of work basically. The defense is really good. The defense has always been really good there in Baltimore, going back to 2000. So I'm not really worried about their defense. Brandon Williams, Calais Campbell, Derek Wolfe, like these guys, Patrick Queen. Patrick Queen is a monster.
Yeah.
So I see another strong year for him. Marcus Peters in the secondary. Marcus Peters is really good if he can stay healthy and stay mentally ready. Jimmy Smith is there. Chuck Clark is there. So they have Marlon Humphreys there. They have a lot of names that you've heard of and a lot of really solid pieces, and poised to be another top 5, top 3 defense in the league again. This is like another playoff team. Definitely a contending for the division title. It just hinges on if they can get production out of Lamar Jackson. He doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't get hurt. When he runs, slide, get out of bounds, do whatever he needs to do to stay healthy for a 17-game season. And if he's healthy enough with this whole COVID thing, hopefully he doesn't have any lingering effects throughout the rest of the season. And he has some weapons now. So overall, I'm looking at 12-5, but I'm gonna say 11. I was say 11-7, 11-6. I'm going 11-6 for Baltimore.
All right, cool. Corey?
Yeah, well, I mean, much like the Steelers, when it comes to coaching, not a lot to say about John Harbaugh. Great coach, well respected around the league. And I feel like he, just being able to see what he did with Lamar Jackson, completely tailoring that team's offense around his skill set, says a lot. Because, look at back in the day, Vince Young in Tennessee, they tried to force Vince Young to be a pocket player, do stuff he couldn't do. And that was a big reason why he didn't succeed. Young came around in today's NFL. Who knows?
Yep. Yeah.
Offense, offense has the same question marks this year as it did last. Lamar Jackson is a dynamic player. He can take over games by himself and break games open. Personally, I think he's a lot better passer than he's generally given credit for. I think it's a little bit on the coaching is a little afraid to open the playbook up with him a little bit sometimes. But then again, also, his receiving options have been largely inconsistent the last few years. Andrews has been his go-to guy, has been reliable, but when it comes to wide receivers, Hollywood Brown has been a major boomer bust guy. They drafted Miles Boykin early, and he hasn't contributed much so far in his career. Early word in camp is he still isn't doing much this year. I've seen some talk that he could potentially not make the roster. He's been that disappointing. I don't know if they would cut somebody that was that high of a pick, but they did pick up Sammy Watkins. Sammy's apparently done really well in camp so far, but he's also a big boomer bust guy. I don't know when the last time Watkins played a full season either, so you're going to have to account for a couple of games a year without him. I feel like Lamar's most consistent wide receiver has probably been Willie Snead in his time in Baltimore, which is kind of crazy. I do think adding Rashad Bateman can give Lamar that receiver that they've been looking for. Bateman's going to get the chance to do that early. So hopefully he's ready to step up and take that. And I will say it is kind of funny, though, reading some reports. It looks like Deion Kane may be giving a third fan base some false hope. Colts fans, a 6th-round pick. We got super excited for him. Tore his ACL, came back, did nothing, cut him. The Steelers fans got excited because he was showing flashes. They let him go. If any Ravens fans are watching, don't buy into it. Save yourself. Defense, not a lot to say. They're going to be good. They're going to be really good. They've a great secondary. They were able to add a guy like Sean Wade in the draft who, with the way Baltimore drafts, he's going to end up a steal. The front 7 has some age, but I do also think they have decent depth to help offset that. The recent signing of Justin Houston, I think, could be a really good signing for them too. I see no reason why this defense won't be just as good as it was last year. Overall, I don't think there's much deviation from the conventional wisdom on the Ravens. They're going to be good. They're going to compete for the AFC title, and honestly, the division is a 2-horse race between them and Cleveland. We'll see if Cleveland's able to take that step. I know we're going to talk about them here in a minute. But for the Ravens, the questions, I think the success of this team is going to come down to if they can get more out of the wide receiver group, and the offensive passing games can just become a little bit more dynamic. Because honestly, they have everything else. That's what's holding them back. And I'm going 11-6 for them on the year.
Oh man, you made some good points, Corey, especially about Vince Young. Man, he might have been a good quarterback. I remember that. But shout out to Vince Young and Reggie Bush. USC versus Texas was the greatest college football game I've seen, championship game I've seen. That was phenomenal. That in my opinion, that was the greatest I've seen. It was pretty phenomenal. Baltimore Ravens, the coach, Jim Harbaugh, is one of the best coaches in the NFL. I mean, that's teams would love to have him. He's just one of those coaches that they hit on the money, like ding, right? And his team kind of like takes his identity, you know. Tough, hard nose. He's just John Harbaugh is just a good coach, man. I would love to have him, but I don't think the Ravens are never gonna let him go. He's always keeps him competitive. This year though, the defense has to post the pass rush, but John Harbaugh is one of those coaches that he'll be able to be able to coach him up. Ravens they're really good at that. So I think this year they're just looking to build on making a deep playoff run. I think that's what John Harbaugh is focused on. Quarterback, Lamar Jackson. He's probably the most thrilling quarterback in the NFL. I love to watch him play. Every time he touches the ball, like you don't know what this guy's gonna do. He's so dynamic and phenomenal. He is missing the beginning of training camp because of COVID. It is the beginning, which is good that he didn't come in contact with it like at the end of training camp. So it's glad it's in the beginning, and he should be back with the team shortly. I don't think that's going to affect his play this year. So. That is that. The running backs, I think they have really great balance with their running attack. With J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, I think they fit each other really well. And with Lamar Jackson added, they're going to be once again. They're going to lead they're going to be the top 5 rushing team in the NFL once again. Now the offensive line, they did lose Orlando Brown Jr., who I liked. But he wanted to play left tackle. They wanted him on right. So, but they got Alejandro Villanueva, who I think is it's not a far drop off. Like comparing him to Orlando Brown Jr., but it's not far. So that's why I think the line is still going to be good. The tight end position is manned by one of the best in the league, Mark Andrews. Him and Lamar Jackson, they just have a good rapport. And I don't think that's going to go anywhere. He trusts him. Now, the receiving core does have Marquise Brown, but he's been inconsistent. They say he's healthy this year, but they said that about him last year. So, that's that. Then we have Sammy Watkins. And Corey, I did look up. Last time he played a full NFL season was his rookie year. Yeah. But he played, I think, 14 games last year. He's sporadic. So, fortunately, he'll probably end up playing a yeah, right. So it's 60 games, 13 games, 8, which he's probably hurt, then 15, then 10, then he played in 14, then 10. So looks like Ravens might get a good 15 games 16 games out of him. He says that in camp he's pretty having a good camp. Says he loves it. Doesn't have to play behind anybody. It's a little bit more freedom, which I get. Right, it's more freedom. Then they have Rashad Bateman, who's playing really good in camp. I think him and Lamar are gonna. I think that's gonna be Lamar's go-to. And maybe they put Marquise Brown in the slot. I think that he belongs there, but I think that Rashad Bateman and Lamar are going to be connecting all year long. The defensive line, like Craig said, Derek Wolfe, Calais Campbell, Brandon Williams. I mean, it's just a mix of power and speed. I mean, they're veterans. They're really good. The linebacker core, I mean, you got Patrick Queen, and they just signed Justin Houston. So, I think Justin Houston is really good for depth, and he'll be able to churn out some sacks. And they also have Odefe Owe, who they drafted. But once again, I think the Ravens are like masters of getting people able to sack the quarterback. So I think they know what they're doing. Then defensive backs, they're loaded. Marlon Humphrey, Jimmy Smith, Marcus Peters. Like that's just the secondary. Like their defense is going to be good. Their defense is always good. And just look for them to build on that. Now, my overall prediction is, once again, the Ravens are in playoffs every year. But they needed to take the next step and go to a deep playoff run. The Ravens are going to be a great running team. Like you said, Corey, I think people don't look to Lamar Jackson as being a passer. And I think this year he's going to take the next step and do more passes that he's ever done in his career. I think this year he's just gonna take the step. I think this is going to be a natural progression. Once they bolster the pass rush, it'll probably come around late season and it'll really pick up. But yeah, I got him going 12-5. Yeah.